it's intimidating for someone to just walk into a law firm and say, are you willing to assist me pro bono?
Yeah.
And on the other side, law firms they want to do the work and don't know where to find the clients. And so then we're saying we're bridging that gap.
Okay.
So the clients come to our offices, walk in. We have walk-in clients and we have clients who come via appointments because we have clinics on different days.
Welcome to another episode of Sisters in Conversation. I'm your host, Debelo Motwane. I'm an attorney and the founder of a platform called Sister in Law, which is a platform dedicated to empowering women through legal education. On today's episode, I'm joined by Nonkululeko Sibambato, who is a senior staff attorney at probono.org. Welcome to the show, Nonkululeko.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for honoring today's invitation. And I'm happy and excited to learn from you and to hear all about your journey. So let's just start from the very beginning. Who is Nonkululeko? Tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you were born and raised, how many siblings you have, whether you were raised by your parents, grandparents, aunts. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. I'm a born and bred Joburg girl.
Okay.
Which many people don't always believe.
Yeah, during the holidays. Where are you going for the holidays?
I'm staying here.
And they're
people
like,
ask,
do you really mean like here? Yeah, no, I understand. Okay.
So I was born and bred in Johannesburg. My parents are based here. So my father's from the Eastern Cape and my mother's from Valkom. And then they decided to settle in Johannesburg. So I was born here, went to school here. And then during varsity, I decided, okay, let me go to the
You're
Eastern
done
Cape.
with Joburg.
I'm done with
Any
Joburg.
siblings or you're an only child?
So I have an older brother.
Okay.
He's 7 years older than me. And then after that, my parents decided that they're done.
And then which primary school and high school did you go to? Give them a shout out.
I went to FDR primary school. And then I went to Greenside High School.
Okay, I know Greenside.
Yes,
okay.
so I'm a Greenside girly.
Okay. And how was your school experience? What was maybe one of your fond memories from either primary or high school?
Do you know what? I really enjoyed high school.
Yeah,
I know
high school
some
was a lot
people
of fun.
don't have positive experiences of high school. I had a great time. I got the opportunity to explore all of my interests. And I got a way out of sport. I'm not sport inclined. So I got to do debating, public speaking. I got to do drama as a subject. I had a really great time in high school.
That's very interesting, considering that earlier you were telling me that you're camera shy and all of that and scared to speak. So I don't know. Hey, you better pull out those debating colors right now.
They in the recesses of my mind. I'm hoping during this
just
this
channel
session,
that debating personality in you. Okay.
Yeah.
And then when did you make the decision that you'd be pursuing law as a degree?
Do you know what? I pursued law incidentally, right? So when I was applying for varsity, I wanted to do journalism, and I applied to Rhodes for journalism, and my dad was very much like, there are 4 pillars in life. These are the things that you must aim for. He was very hectic about what I should be pursuing.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, let me just take legal theory 1. And then get them off my back and I'll drop it.
So you went to Rhodes?
I went to Rhodes.
How did you convince your parents that, you don't want to attend school close to home?
I just said, look, I just want to explore and I want to try different things. And I think they had the experience of my brother going to university in Johannesburg. And I think saw the upside and downside of that.
And how was your transition going from Joburg to a pretty little town in Grahamstown?
Grahamstown,
yeah. How was it going there? Transition from, high school to varsity, obviously, but also just going from the fast-paced life of Joburg
to
very slow roads life.
Do you know what? The upside of it is that it's a very student town. So it is a much, much slower pace. You walk everywhere. You're not getting taxis unless you're going, outside of town. We don't have, there's no mall in Grahamstown. There's no McDonald's. There's no Chicken Licken. So it was quite an adjustment.
Yeah.
Right. But I had so much fun.
Yeah. I remember Grahamstown from the arts festival back in the day. I don't know if they still have that.
They still
but I
have
remember
it.
we were staying on campus and we'd literally walk into town. Like from one of the gates, we go straight into town. Yeah, it was definitely not a mall. Straight into town. Very what's the word? Very vintagey buildings. And
Yes.
yeah, very small town. So I can imagine you did not
very
have
small.
to take a taxi anywhere.
No, you just
Yeah.
walk everywhere.
And how was campus life? Were you one of those students who just put their head down the whole time? Or were you involved in like student societies and all of that?
I'm not known to just put my head down. Unfortunately, I'm just not that person. My parents are activists.
I love that.
So that has always been inculcated into me. So I think the first couple of years I was just finding my feet, and then I joined the BLA. And that really upped the ante for me in terms of student politics and activism. And then in my my penultimate year, I was appointed as the chairperson of the BLA at Rhodes for the student chapter. Yes. And around that time, it was Fees Must Fall. There was a lot of things going on. And as a student activist, you get involved in those things, you know. And looking back, I'm just like, where did I find the courage to do this?
Yeah. So, but for like any law students who are listening at the moment, what were the benefits of you being a part of that Black Lawyers Association? At grassroots level, if I can put it that way.
It's a great opportunity because you see the law in practice.
Yeah.
And you have to think about not just the theory and the technicality, but what does the law actually mean and what does it do for people?
For the man on the ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's really important to think about that and think about even just the legalities of what am I doing and how far can I go in this thing that I'm doing? So like, a lawful protest, what does that look like? And then when do we exceed the bounds of that? But we also had a lot of support from the BLA, the greater organization, in terms of the training that we got and the support that they gave us.
I was going to say it was probably also just a really good platform to build networks.
It was.
Yeah.
It was,
Networks that you carry beyond just your varsity years.
Yes, because then there's someone who you know, if you weren't on the BLA with them as a student, because I think there's also value in networking across. Because now we've all grown, you know, some of us are attorneys, some of us are advocates, to say, listen, I just need help on this thing. Can you assist? Or having people who are established in the legal profession, who are able to guide you, who are able to mentor you. So I think it's incredibly valuable for students to join those kind of organizations.
Yeah, lovely. I actually encourage that a lot. I was one of those students who was not wanting to join those kind of organizations, but I wasn't aware. I wasn't plugged in until after varsity. The only thing I was really aware of was SRC, but SRC always seemed like you have to know people.
Yes.
You know, like it was very like cliquey, if I can put it that way. So it didn't feel like it was something that you as a regular law student could even pursue, or as a regular university student. So that's the only sort of organization I knew about back then. And there was also just like politics with the different SRCs in the different universities. So I was always just like, okay, maybe not. I don't want to get involved. Yeah, so I only found out about all the other organizations much later on in life. So I appreciate this platform, because right now you've already told a law student out there to consider joining BLA, which is pretty much in every varsity, hey?
I think it's in every varsity.
Yeah. So then how was your campus life, like the academic side of things? Were you top achiever, or you were just like, if I can just criminal law, just, get my 50 and be out of here?
Yeah. You know, it took me long to wake up.
To
say, listen, this is, serious.
Yeah.
But I was just an average student in the first couple of years. Like I was passing, it was okay, and I understood that my parents couldn't afford to send me to varsity. And so I couldn't afford to fail.
Yeah.
So I did enough to just not fail.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, I don't think that was enough. And I don't know if I believed in my capability to excel.
Yeah.
Because I thought 60 is just good enough for me and 70 is a win.
Okay.
And looking back, it's like,
hey,
I had so much
60.
capacity.
I was just like, man, put me on that 50. Okay, yeah. But also looking back, maybe we just weren't trained to study back then. Like, I feel like obviously if I could do varsity now, I'd do a better job. But
Yeah.
we maybe weren't trained, and obviously it takes a while to get from that high school into the independence of varsity. So that kind of creates a challenge if you were already not like in top 10 in high school.
In high school,
Yeah. And then when did you learn that you had to apply for articles and maybe consider VAC work and all of that? Like, when did you learn that, okay, after my degree, there's still all these other hoops that I have to go through?
I learned it in fourth year when we'd have those, law firms coming in.
Yeah, the career
and
day.
the career day. And I think because we're all the way in Grahamstown, not as many firms and organizations came through. So it felt like it was always the big firms.
Yeah.
And obviously because
They have resources.
They have the resources to do that. And I knew from then that it's just not my journey, And so I just wasn't sure where I would go and where I would apply. But I just thought, like, I'll see it when I'm done.
Yeah. Also, it was a bit overwhelming because when they did come to campus and they were already signing people for like 2 years later, you were like, I'm late. Like in fourth year, you just feel like you're late. And then you learn that some people in third year and fourth year have already been signed to start articles the following year. Then you're just lost.
You lost and you're behind already. And not enough people share that. To say that there's so much value in doing VAC work.
So you didn't end up doing VAC work?
No, I didn't, unfortunately. And I came to regret that decision, but then I still ended up on the path that I think I was supposed to.
Yeah. So what happened after you graduated? You came back home and then you started looking for articles.
Then I started looking for articles, and then I started regretting my decisions to say, I should have done this.
So you sort of had like you graduated, right, on whatever X year, and then you sort of sat at home for a bit while looking for articles.
Yes.
And how long was that?
So I sat for a year. Before that, I managed to get an internship at Lawyers Against Abuse.
Okay.
Which was a really great opportunity for me. I think it was my first kind of foray into NGO work and access to justice and what that looks like. And I was fortunate to work with a really supportive team. So there's a lot that I learned there. And then while I was there, I got an opportunity to do my PLT. So by the time I started articles, I had some experience. Not a lot, but
you weren't in the dark.
I wasn't in the dark, and I wasn't like super green, as they say.
What kind of work were you doing as an intern?
So the organization helps women who are affected by GBV. So it was assisting them in completing their protection order applications, but mostly just consulting and learning what kind of questions you need to ask in a consultation. How do you have a professional consultation? What documents do you need to get from the client? Going to court, observing how hearings go, learning what to wear in court, how to conduct yourself. So it was really just a learning process. Yeah.
But how did you guys get to informing, the women who needed the services about the organization? Because I can imagine that there's so many people who might be listening right now and they don't even know if it's like a walk-in service or if you guys go out and look, at other organizations who maybe are running homes for victims of gender-based violence. How do people get to learn about the organization?
So that organization specifically is based within the community. So it was based in Diepsloot. So it was a lot of community engagement. So engaging with the police, engaging with social workers, engaging with clinics and hospitals. So engaging with areas where women would generally go when they experience these issues. Even engaging with court officials to say, if you come across these clients, refer them to us.
Okay.
So it's a thing of building relationships in communities.
Yeah.
So that people become aware.
Yeah.
And the other way is just word of mouth. Once you've assisted one client and then their neighbor goes through something similar, then they say, I got help here. I think you should go there.
And at that tender age, how did you deal with some of the cases that came through the door? How did you manage to just remove yourself from being emotionally invested in specific cases?
I did it.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to, you know. And that thing comes with experience. To learn to say, for me to show up effectively for this person,
You have to be your best self too.
I have to be my best self. And my best self isn't someone who is thinking about the previous client, not sleeping, worried about, you know, are they safe? Are they still okay? I mean, that worry it's inevitable. But it does get to a point where you need to have healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
You know, to maintain your own mental and emotional health so that you're able to show up for other people, but also you're able to show up for yourself. Because that kind of work makes you hypervigilant.
Yeah. And sometimes draining.
Yes,
Emotionally draining.
Draining. And then you don't have the energy for the next client.
Yeah. So what kind of support did you get from your superiors? Was it an easy enough platform to just speak about your feelings to your superiors and them help you manage or deal with how to actually deal without taking the matters too personally?
So they were great in the sense that I could say, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. So if I'm not having a good time,
Anyone
everyone
can
around
see.
me will know.
Yeah.
Just to say, like, I'm struggling with this and I keep thinking about it and I go home and these are the issues. And because I was an intern at the time, so what the organization did is they would offer debriefing.
Yeah.
To everyone that works there, but because I wasn't permanent staff, I didn't have that option. But I just debriefed with the social worker who was already there. And then when I went back to the organization, that's when they arranged, so they had a therapist. You all have an opportunity to get a therapist, or whoever works for you. It could be a counselor, it could be, you know, going to church, but they facilitate those opportunities. And then twice a month, you have to see your
Therapist
or counselor or whatever.
All right. Yeah, that
and it's
sounds...
actually monitored to say, this month you haven't...
What's going on?
Or we haven't gotten an invoice from your therapist. What's happening?
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's really good. And then during that, you were then still hunting for articles because you were adamant that you definitely want to write your board exams. You want to be admitted as an attorney.
Yes. So I was adamant. And I think it's, I mean, life happens as it happens. So it happens at different opportunities for people. But I just felt that I wanted to get it, not out of the way, but get it done when I was a bit younger and had less responsibilities.
And earlier you mentioned that you mostly, during the career days at school, you mostly had access, or rather it was the bigger firms that were coming to visit you. How did you then get articles at, I think, MNS it was? How did you then get articles there and then just remove yourself from that, from the expectation or the anticipation that you'd get something at one of the big 5 law firms?
I think I just accepted, and I'm happy that I accepted it early, that granted it's a great opportunity to do your articles at big firms. I think it opens doors, but that's just not everyone's journey.
Yeah,
And there's
definitely
value in other opportunities. And I was telling anyone who would listen that I was looking for articles.
Okay.
Unfortunately, my brother had a friend who was working at MNS, and she said, look, we're looking for CAs. So just tell your sister to apply.
And then that's it?
And I applied, and I heard from them like 3-4 months later.
You'd forgotten.
I'd even forgotten that I'd applied.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, okay. It's one of those applications that go nowhere.
Yeah.
And then they called me for the interview, and I went, and I thought I bombed that interview.
Yeah.
I left thinking,
it's always the case.
No. Okay.
Like, why did you say that?
Why
like
did I
that?
say that? The search continues, you know.
Yeah.
And even the questions they asked me, they were just so... It was different people, and it's questions coming from everywhere, and it's like practical law questions.
Yes.
Which I don't think law graduates are prepared for. You need to know certain processes because it will come up in the interview. But I think I tried to handle it the best I could, but I left and I was like, okay.
You then got the job.
I got the job.
Yeah, so did you end up doing the full 2 years, or because you had done PLT, you just did a year?
So I ended up doing the full 2 years. They were quite adamant about that, which was actually great. Because there's still a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that 1 year covers everything you need to learn. Because even when you become an associate, there's still things you need to learn.
Yeah. And also, I really feel like whenever you do articles for a year and then the following year you are given the responsibilities of an associate, like, no, I still want to blame someone else
Yes.
for my mistake. Like, I'm not ready to take on so much responsibility under the title of an associate because obviously the expectation is that now that you're an associate, we're going to give you associate responsibilities.
Exactly.
And then you mess it up and you're like, oh,
And
oops.
the buck stops with you now.
Yeah. Okay, so you did the full 2 years, and what was your experience like during articles?
The experience was good. You know, it was articles, and the associates always used to tease us about like, oh, no shame, you guys are just CAs.
Yeah.
But yeah, articles is really, it's tough. Tough not because of the work, but tough because you have to grow. You have to be open to the fact that you are there to learn. You know, we always used to joke that like at MNS is like university. We're learning again.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to know the theory and then it's another thing to practice, you know. And it's a medium-sized firm, so it's in between you. In every department, there isn't a thing of like, one day you're in this
strictly in litigation or whatever.
So you do everything. And that was tough. But we also had a lot of support, I think.
That's good.
And a lot of mentorship.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And what kind of work were you exposed to during your 2 years, and what are some of the highlights of the work you were exposed to?
So I did a bit of everything, deceased estates, family law, labor, and then I did a lot of commercial matters, even involved in some like investigations and like really big reports and construction law as well. And so that was the highlight for me. I didn't think I would enjoy construction law.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't think I'd get the grasp of it. And I remember when I started getting those kinds of matters, I was just confused because the rules are different. They're different. And there was a point where the director that I was working with had to draw a diagram for me. So it's like, I'm not following.
Yeah.
And he said, all right, let's sit down. And he literally took me through step by step.
And had to like literally draw out the transaction for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And funny enough, that's like what we do now at the office. If there's too many facts and there's too much information,
draw pictures and diagrams.
To simplify it.
Yeah. So you'd say the highlight was the construction law. Well,
or it being exposed to something different.
Yeah.
Being exposed to something different and learning that I actually have the capacity to do this. Coming from someone as a law student who didn't really believe in her capabilities. Saying that like this
sounds like you had a great experience, which I really like, because a lot of the time, it's hectic out there for articles and everyone's always complaining about, you know, toxic work environment or toxic bosses, toxic seniors, whatever the case is. But it sounds like you had a relatively good experience, save for the growing pains that come with learning something different and being in a new environment.
I mean, look, we're still working in a law firm. You know, the hours, the pressure, the having to work on weekends.
The fast pace of it.
The mistakes that you make. The ridiculous mistakes. I once, I hope my former doesn't watch this. I had to meet him. We're going to a meeting and he was already there. And I took an Uber to the meeting. And then I just needed to withdraw money to pay the Uber driver. I'd ordered a cash. And I'd left my laptop bag in there.
In the Uber?
In the Uber.
Yo.
And then the Uber driver went to park somewhere else, but I couldn't see him. So when I came out, he was gone. Oh. And I thought, okay, there goes my job.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Okay, did you manage to get the laptop?
I managed to get the laptop. He just drove past, so I called him, and at first he wasn't answering the phone, and then he answered.
You were like,
and said I parked somewhere else. And there was a file I had to get to my boss there.
Oh my goodness. Okay, but I mean, the day was saved.
The day was saved.
Yeah, but it was a close call.
It was a
But
very
now you
close
get to the
call.
meeting flustered because you're still like thinking of what could have gone wrong or what would have happened.
Yo, what a stressful time. But
sure.
Yeah, every day was like that.
Every day was a different day.
Different issue, having to serve someone that you can't find. we did have like messages and drivers, so a lot of things we didn't have to do, but then there were sometimes you had to do it. So you know, driving around Johannesburg, you were alone a driver.
Yeah.
Or I got my license just before I started articles.
So did you stay at home during your articles?
Yes.
Okay, so you didn't have to like spend your first few salaries on furnishing an apartment and all of that.
No.
So you had a good, like you enjoyed your money.
I did. I ate that money.
Yo.
My first salary disappeared.
Yeah. Okay, that's lovely. And then you also stayed on as an associate.
Yes.
For how long?
For about 5 months. Yeah.
And then what made you change? You went back to
LVA. Yeah.
LVA. What does LVA stand for?
Lawyers Against Abuse.
Yes. So you went back there.
Yes. So before that, I had a short stint. So I just think I needed to reflect on where am I going. Because even though I enjoyed the experience, I never intended to be more commercial. And it felt as though if I don't leave now, I'm never going to. You know, because that's when I realized, like, on the pro bono matters that I had there,
that the activist within you just
this is what I really like. And I somehow ended up as the pro bono person, you know. And I just not had a knack for it, but I just had the heart for it and the patience for it.
Yeah.
And that's why I think certain things are a calling, you know. Because I saw then, you know, if you don't know what the law says, or you don't even know where to start,
there'll be no recourse.
There'll be no recourse. So I decided to leave then. I had to do some of my own soul searching, you know, to figure out what's the next step for me. And then I thought, okay, master's is a great next option. It wasn't.
So did you do your master's?
I started.
Okay.
I'm in the process of finishing it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I had a role for about 6 months, but it was a short-term role as a legal researcher for SANEF.
And what's SANEF?
SANEF, so it's the South African National Editors Forum. So they were editing a book that they'd done for journalists who are reporting on the courts.
Okay.
And the first version they'd done was in 2006. So they needed to update it. A lot of information had to be updated on certain terminology, the different courts, all sorts of things had to be updated. So that's the project that I had, which was actually really nice. It was quite different from what I'd been doing.
Yeah. So it was very like research intensive.
Very research intensive. And then I wrote 2 new chapters in the book, which was also quite nice.
Great, yeah.
I didn't know I had that skill. So
See, your journalism is coming through now.
it's coming through. It wasn't great in varsity, but I guess later on it came through,
So you did the 6 months there, then went back to LVA.
So I did the 6 months there, then took the other time, I guess, to do my soul searching and look, you know, for other opportunities. And then the next year in 2022, I joined LVA again.
And what was different about your role in your second rodeo?
So my second rodeo, I joined as a legal officer. Initially as a junior legal officer, then became legal officer. It was a different center. I was a now permanent member of staff, and I had more responsibility. So that was the difference. But I knew what I was doing. So I think that's what made the difference.
Was it similar to your job as an intern? Like you're still assisting members of the public with protection orders and all of that?
Yes, but now it's more intense, and now you're giving legal advice as well. Because, you know, more often than not, someone, when they come with a GBV issue, there's all sorts of
underlying issues involved. Yeah, like family and all of that.
Maintenance, sometimes deceased
criminal
estates,
as well.
Criminal, you know. So we also gave criminal case support, but also gave legal advice, or to even refer to say, okay, once we're done here, then you need to go here, or go to this organization, or, you know.
And how long was that second rodeo?
It was 1 year and 8 months.
Okay, that's a long time. Yeah.
Then the opportunity at Pro Bono came up.
Probono.org.
Probono.org, yeah.
So how did that opportunity come about? Was it a conversation, or they had vacancies out on the internet or newspaper or whatever? How did that come about?
So there was a vacancy on LinkedIn. And funny enough, I just thought, like, you know, this thing of disqualifying yourself.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not
should
looking, but I'm also not sure if if I fit the criteria or meet the criteria.
And I said, let me try.
Yeah,
no harm
sometimes
in
you must
trying.
just.
Yeah.
And those are the ones you get, actually. When
Those
you're
are
not
the
like
ones you
being serious,
get.
you're like, "Hey, let me just throw caution to the wind and see where it
let's
takes
see.
me. And if I don't get the job, I still have a job.
I
so
still
I
have
can't
a job,
cry.
and it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay.
But I'd wanted to work for Pro Bono for a long time, probono.org. And because I'd also been referring clients to probono.org to say, okay, this is where you go when we're done here, and they'll assist you. So I had some idea of the kind of work that they did. I thought, okay, this role has opened up. Why not?
Yeah.
You know, I have some of this experience, and I'm passionate about this work. So let's see. And then they called me for an interview. Then I had to walk up those Corny Hill steps.
Yeah.
And I left the interview and I wasn't sure again. I was like, oh, okay, but I've still got a job. So it's fine.
Yeah. You're not like heartbroken.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I wanted it, but I was like, okay, like, you know. And then I got the call.
And so tell us a little bit more about the organization and the work that you guys do for, you know, the person on the ground, the layman.
Okay. So we are a registered law clinic.
Okay.
And we're an NGO. So essentially our aim is to provide free legal services to members of the public. And we do this by using the clearinghouse model. So it's quite unique in the sense that we partner with private attorneys. So private attorneys sign up to join our panel. Not just attorneys and advocates, we have mediators as well. And it's different.
So that's how the private law firms get their pro bono hours?
Yes.
Okay.
So then they sign up to join our panel. And you get different kinds of law firms. You get the big five, we have medium-sized, we have sole practitioners. It's quite a mixed bag. So then they sign up to join our panel, and then we then partner those attorneys or advocates with members of the public. So we do that by the clients come to us. So the clients come and say, look, I need help with X, Y, and
But
Z.
the first step is for them to go through a law firm. So you don't take like a walk-in client, for example.
We do.
Okay.
So we are the ones who get them to the law firm.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's intimidating for someone to just walk into a law firm and say, are you willing to assist me pro bono?
Yeah.
And on the other side, law firms they want to do the work and don't know where to find the clients. And so then we're saying we're bridging that gap.
Okay.
So the clients come to our offices, walk in. We have walk-in clients and we have clients who come via appointments because we have clinics on different days.
Okay. Okay.
So from Tuesday to Friday, we have our family law clinic, our labor law, deceased estates, deeds, refugee and housing. And then we take in other clients as well, like police brutality, medical negligence, wills as well. And then we also take in domestic violence clients. And then we have a project running that's called One Child a Year.
And what does that do?
So that project focuses specifically on children's matters.
Okay.
So matters related to children's court or children who need legal representation for whatever reason. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
And then I always hear that there's like a means test and whatever.
Yes.
So what does that mean for me when I walk into probono.org and I say, this is who I am and this is the assistance that I need? What does this means test entail for me to qualify to get assistance from you?
So the means test is how we screen clients. We know that there's a big need for clients to access attorneys. And legal fees are incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
Right? But the aim is to assist people who truly cannot afford it.
Yeah.
And so we check the means test currently as it stands, and I think it's subject to change. With the changes that are happening with the LPC and the requirements for attorneys to do their 40 hours. But currently, a client has to earn below 7,500, and the value of their property must be below 350,000. But we do get cases where people do exceed that, because even if you earn 10,000, doesn't mean you can afford legal services.
I mean, even if you earn 20. Exactly. So it's, yeah. So, I mean, I understand that, but there's obviously now a missing middle, because if you do earn 20, you're not poor, you know, per se. but you also you don't have necessarily the disposable income after you've paid off, your rent, groceries, children's school fees maybe. Then you're left with like a disposable income of say 3,000-4,000 rand. But now you don't qualify.
You don't qualify. So we do have discretion, right? Because some matters are in the interest of justice.
Yeah.
It's urgent. You look at the client's bank statement, there's really no way that they can afford these services. Or let's say they earn 30,000 and above, but they really need assistance. And we can engage our attorneys to say, are you willing to do this on a low bono basis, perhaps?
Yeah.
Or there are clients who we can assist within the office. Can I draft a letter for you? Can I refer you to the correct organization? Because not all matters require you to go to court.
Sometimes it's just a matter of mediation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that we can do.
Do you partner with law clinics at universities at all?
Not necessarily, but we get a lot of referrals from them, or we refer as well. So we cross-partner in that sense. And our mandates are similar.
Okay. And then do you have legal interns?
We do.
Okay.
So we have legal interns, they're law graduates just before they do their articles.
Okay.
So they're the ones who screen the clients and typically who the clients consult with first.
So they sort of do the bulk of the research, if I can put it that way, as well. Okay.
So they're the ones sitting with the clients, finding out what they need assistance with, getting their documentation, and part of their training is to then learn what kind of questions do you ask. If it's a labor client, are you asking for, did you have a disciplinary hearing? Were you suspended? Is there a charge sheet? So they learn that as they go, and I think that really does equip them for articles.
Yeah. Is there a certain number of legal interns you take?
Yes. So in the Joburg office, we have 3 at the moment. It's also subject to funding.
Okay.
Because we are donor funded. We have
funded by like who? Law firms or just private companies?
So it's law firms, foundations as well, and some bars.
Okay.
Actually do fund us.
Okay.
Advocate bars.
So that's how essentially your salaries, overheads, all of that is taken care of through the funding.
Yes, through funding. Yeah.
Okay.
So that allows us to provide
the services.
The service that we provide. Yeah.
And what are some of the, maybe even if it's been, cases in the public domain, what are some of the exciting cases you've worked on? Or maybe not even exciting, but, maybe really challenging cases, the ones that stand out to you, where also there was like some groundbreaking law. So
the way our sort of formula works is that we refer. So the client comes in, so we're really about clearing out.
Okay. Yeah, you just say clearing house. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, we do keep tabs on the important cases that we've had, but really the win for us is when, the client gets referred. So we don't really have those types of cases. And the benefit or the difference with the work that we do is we're really trying to assist the everyday person.
So you guys aren't even on any matters as like friends of the court or whatever?
No.
Okay.
Not at the moment. But we are working with some big cases or supporting them in the sense that we've referred them and we're saying we're still playing that supporting role. So we do have those kind of cases as well.
Sure. All right. Thank you. I think that you've given us the content we were looking for. And why do you do what you do? Like, what gets you out of bed on the challenging days?
I think it's knowing that the person that I'm going to encounter on the other side, my showing up to it is going to make a difference in their life. It's the difference between them not losing their house, not losing their job, leaving an abusive relationship, getting their divorce, getting maintenance. It makes a difference in someone's life, like their livelihood. And that gets me out of bed to say, okay,
I love that.
Today I have the opportunity to change someone's
life. A life, yeah.
And I might not know that I'm doing that. And it's not just about changing one person's life. It's that person has an impact on their family and on their children and on their cousins and aunts and
society at large. Yeah. I love that. And can I say now? I said what gets you out of bed, ne? Okay, now I forgot what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
But Okay, what was the one moment where you maybe had a breakthrough, whether it was during your articles or during your time at LVA, where you were now like sure that you are in the right place, like where you looked in the mirror and said, you are the girl you think you are, like where you are confident that you are competent to do your job and that you're in the right place?
I think it was at LVA, and I've had this experience at Pro Bono as well. There was a client who we'd assisted with a protection order, and we referred her. And to us, it seemed like the routine case. And then I just called her to do a follow-up. And she said, it was just so fundamental. I'll never forget this. You know, she said, you guys really helped me. Because, you know, I got out of this relationship. I moved out. Unfortunately for her, she was working. So she had the means to leave immediately. And we referred her to someone for counseling, and she said, you know what, also that person helped me a lot, and I can laugh again. I remember her saying that
I can laugh
again. I feel joy again.
Yeah.
You know? And even at work with, you know, currently now, it's just seeing the relief on clients' faces when you said, we found an attorney for you.
I think that's so special because it's very different when you are skilled to do your job, but when you're really passionate, then you do it from a place of love. And I think the other person can feel that. And that's the difference between like maybe, I don't know, an attorney and a passionate attorney, that you can actually feel the love when you are engaging with the person, and the person is engaging with you not from a place of judgment, and they're not just cold. They're not like a cold attorney, like I'm just here to work. You know, there's a little bit of love and compassion from you. And I think that makes the world of a difference, especially for attorneys who are activists.
Yeah, and who do have that heart. And most of the attorneys, if not all actually, on our panel are really passionate about the work. So they also have that thing of, let me find a solution. And I think for us, that's where the big sort of cases happen, in the sense that it might not necessarily be a big case, because most of them happen at regional court and high court. Very few go to Supreme Court of Appeal and Con Court. But for that person, it's, I got this divorce decree, you know? And we are trying to expand our reach in terms of getting into having help desks at more regional courts, trying to reestablish our help desk at high court, you know, and partner with other organizations. You know, there's a case now, I think the memory now is coming back. There's a case, for instance, that we've partnered with, or we've referred it rather to Baker McKenzie, you know, and it has implications for a lot of community members, because it's in relation to, well, I don't know if I can get into the facts. It has implications for a lot of community members. And the work that firm is doing on that matter has been great. I
love that.
And the advocate that's doing the work, you know, and they've allowed us to also continue on the journey with them, which is something that we really appreciate, because just because we refer matters doesn't mean we don't
have an interest.
Because these essentially are our clients, and we care about what happens after the referral. You know.
Sure. Thank you so much for sharing that. I've learned something new, and also just the work that you do is incredible. Definitely society needs you, and needs specifically Nonkululeko's contribution to the legal the legal profession as a whole. So thank you for the work that you do, and that probono.org does as well. And where to from here? Do you see what your next 3 to 5 years are looking like, or you just like,
do you know what,
take each day as it comes?
Take each day as it comes, but I'm always open to the journey. You know, I've been at probono.org for a year now, and I'm just like, what else can we achieve within this organization, and how many more people can we assist?
Can we help?
I mean, it's existed long before, you know, I came into the picture. We're doing 20 years in 2 years.
But that doesn't mean you don't need fresh perspective, right? So there's always room for change and growth, and to inject something exciting, new perspectives. Yeah.
So 3 to 5 years, Nkuli is trying to help as many people as she can.
Yeah. That's good enough.
That's
is good
good
enough.
enough.
That is good enough.
And hopefully reaching more law graduates
Yeah.
who have the same
Passion and calling. Yeah. So what work are you doing outside of your day-to-day work to, mentor and empower law graduates in just answering to their calling, if I can put it that way?
So a lot of it, I think, is done with our legal interns. And I am always surprised at the fact that they believe I have the answers.
Yeah.
So half the time I'm like,
I'm just a baby.
I'm just a girl. And I'm saying, I learned that phrase from them. So I'm just a girl.
Yeah.
But to say to them, your first instinct, your legal instincts grow as you grow in the profession. And you must learn to trust those and hone those.
It's a muscle. Hey.
It's a muscle.
Yeah.
So to say, and have that space where, and I hope this is something that I do, I believe it's something that I do, to contribute to growing their confidence, because confidence is very important in this fraternity, especially when you're a woman and you're young.
Yeah.
You get discounted a lot. And so you have to be able to say, hi, I'm also in the room. And I also
be
have
assertive,
an opinion,
hey.
and be assertive.
Yeah.
And even if your opinion is wrong, you are there to learn. Obviously, it's also like maybe think
and your voice was heard. Yeah.
And your voice was heard.
Yeah.
And that's where that muscle grows.
Yeah.
So that's where most of my, I guess, training. And then there's always people who reach out to me to say, how do I get there? How do I do this? Where do I go from here? And I'm always surprised that I actually do have the answers.
Yeah. Well, clearly you've exercised your muscle enough too. That is very, very great. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. Do you have any parting words? Maybe something that you'd like to use this platform to get across? Even if it's words of motivation for someone in varsity, for someone who's just started working, for someone who's sitting at home just, applying and they're getting sick and tired of the process.
Keep trying.
Yeah.
Have to keep trying. And it's difficult and it feels discouraging, but eventually things turn around. It's not winter forever.
Yeah.
Things change. And it doesn't feel like things will change, and they will change. I am a testament to things changing. And there are people around people who are testament of things turning around and changing.
Yeah.
You just have to keep trying.
It's not winter forever.
It's not winter forever.
I think we'll definitely leave it at that. Nkuli, thank you so much for your insights. Thank you for joining us today and sharing your story with us. I know that you have positively impacted the lives of so many more people through just sharing your journey with us, and you've empowered so many more young Black girls, I always say representation is important. So it's good to know that little girls around Joburg or wherever doing their law degree can one day be a you. I love
Fingers
that.
crossed.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Wonderful. And you at home or wherever you are watching this, if you enjoyed today's episode, please, please, please share it with your loved ones. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and don't forget to rate and review the show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. I always say that small, insignificant act goes a long way in creating awareness of the show. Until next time, goodbye.